Political reporter Ben Winslow takes a look.
You want to start at the water tank?
Jaemye and Bryan Brandon bought a farm outside Tremonton.
So it was just a alfalfa and like hay farm is just all it was.
But they're abandoning that water-intensive crop to grow something new.
I've always had the dream of owning a Christmas tree farm.
That's right, the Brandons are growing Christmas trees and fresh-cut flowers for people to enjoy.
We were never going to grow alfalfa. The whole point was Christmas trees. So there's about 11 acres dedicated to Christmas trees. Every year we will plant a new acre of trees. This was to help kind of keep the soil.
They use drip irrigation to help the trees and flowers grow.
That was the water grant right there, that tank right there.
The Brandons got a grant from the state to purchase and install this water tank.
And then we pump it through one filter, runs through the hose, goes into the tank.
The couple says the money from the state will help them be sustainable.
You have to spend half to get half.
Is it worth it, do you feel?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean we got
Yeah.
half the money for, we never probably could have bought that tank without
No.
some kind of assistance, at least not that.
Agriculture is the state's top water user. In the Great Salt Lake Basin, it diverts as much as 2/3 of water going to the lake.
We've had the drought and problems with the Great Salt Lake. So the Ag Water Optimization Program allows us in the agricultural industry to come to the table. We know that we're a huge water user.
The Great Salt Lake is in an ecological crisis because of upstream water diversion, drought, and a changing climate. Now, one strategy to help it recover is getting agriculture producers across Utah to switch to new water-saving technologies. And the state is investing hundreds of millions of dollars to make it happen.
So up here, for example, if we're flood irrigating on a dirt ditch, sometimes that'll take 45 or 50 minutes to get the ditch wet before we ever see water. But if we install a pipe, that could be 45 seconds before we see water. And immediately we just became more drought resilient.
The Great Salt Lake Collaborative, of which Fox 13 News is a member, filed a public records request to see who's getting the money. So far, Utah's Department of Agriculture and Food has spent about $65 million.
We've funded just over about 350 projects statewide, and by and large, half of those projects are in the Great Salt Lake Basin.
Some of the big recipients include canal companies to bury canals, reducing water evaporation, and farms to switch to better irrigation systems. Replacing some equipment isn't cheap. Altogether, the collaborative has totaled nearly 143,000 acre-feet a year in projected water savings, but not all projects list how much water they could save.
With a little bit of an incentive from the state, we're able to overcome some of those hurdles, those fiscal hurdles, and put in new systems that are going to be more efficient, provide greater economic return to the farmer, but also create the opportunity for additional water for things like the Great Salt Lake.
Representative Casey Snyder is a Cache County farmer who's helped push the agriculture water optimization program on Utah's Capitol Hill.
The programs and the projects that I've seen completed give me a lot of optimism.
Farmers the Great Salt Lake Collaborative have interviewed do believe the program is helping them and that there are great benefits with newer water-saving tech. But state officials concede it hasn't been an easy rollout.
Pipe prices, for example, tripled.
There's also apprehension among some farmers about losing water and being portrayed as a villain in the state's water problems.
We all rely on agriculture 3 times a day, and I don't think there's anybody in this industry that is growing a crop because they want to waste water. That's just not what happens. They are utilizing markets, they're responding to market forces.
The Brandons say while the paperwork was a little tough, they're glad they did it. And they are seeing big water savings on their farm.
I know exactly, based on how long I water, how much water is actually going to that tree, and drip irrigation's in the 90+ efficiency for water usage because the water is going right to your plant. So we're not watering any alfalfa or any weed.